that could be done in very small rooms and hidden. So Israeli intelligence, which has been extraordinary, can give almost a limitless amount of targets. So I do not see this ending anytime soon, and that is obviously for the region. It will keep it on edge. Certainly for the Israeli people, which Israel targets. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Well, it depends. Iran may choose to strike American allies in the region, like the moderate Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates, to try to draw them in and have President Trump put pressure on Israel. That is a possibility. But I will tell you, there is no love in any of those states for Iran. Behind the scenes, they're all applauding what Israel is doing. They all see Iran as a primary threat to them. And so from their perspective, the weaker Israel makes Iran, and if ultimately it helps lead to a regime change, that's good for the Sunni world and will be good for Iraq also. I would say that the Iranians are not going to attack American assets or facilities in the region. The reason is because if the Iranians foolishly choose to do that, then the United States will respond, and the United States could overwhelmingly respond and totally tip the balance of this war. So I think that is just threats. But if they choose to do that, that would be signing their death warrant. I don't see any. First of all, the Iranians are not interested in speaking right now, and they should be interested in speaking if they believe they want their regime to survive. But I don't believe there's going to be any agreements anytime soon. I will say that, and I have said this on many media outlets over the last couple of months, is that the best way for the United States to have leverage in the nuclear negotiations was for there to be a strike, not necessarily an Israeli strike, could have been an American strike, but that would give us much more leverage. And I believe if negotiations are going to return, the United States, my country, is going to be in a much stronger position in being able to get a much better nuclear deal. The Iranians brought this war upon themselves. And it began in 1979 when they were screaming, "Death to my country, death to America." That was the big Satan, or a large Satan, as they would refer to the United States. And they have the blood of many of our soldiers on their hands, including during the Iraqi war and in Afghanistan. So the Iranians have created a nuclear program. They have lied and cheated along the way, fooled the IAEA, the atomic agency of the UN. So they have never been negotiating in good faith. And as far as they didn't believe President Trump when he said, you have 60 days to come to an agreement, and the Iranian goal was to stretch out the agreement, the negotiations. And on day 61, the Israelis struck. The Israelis had no choice, because if you look at the words of the supreme leader, of the heads of the IRGC, it was always to destroy Israel. It was an existential threat. And so Israel is doing the dirty work, really, for Western nations, and really for all the peace-loving peoples, certainly in Kurdistan. This is a good thing if Israel can degrade Iran. Well, we don't know what's going to be at the end here. Iran has strategic patience. This is a long civilization, and and the people who currently run Iran are fanatical, and they want to control the region. They believe they should be on top. And if they have a possibility over time of going back and making nuclear weapons, they will, which means, at the very least, they have to be not allowed to have any enrichment whatsoever. When President Obama 10 years ago gave the world's leading state sponsor of terror the right to enrich uranium. That was terrible. And right now we have to go back and that they have zero ability to enrich uranium or use the other method through plutonium. And we have to have American inspectors there to watch it. You cannot have a compromise agreement with the Iranians who believe that they can trick America and outlast American administrations. No more fooling around. It has to be going forward, true inspections, a true rigorous closing of all their pathways to an atomic bomb. And the best thing that could possibly happen, although everybody is hesitant to say it, but I am not, is for there to be, let's be pro-Iranian, to be pro-Iranian people, that they take control of their lives. Most of the people in Iran do not want this leadership leading them that has some of the worst human rights abuses in the world. China and Russia, who are part of the axis of aggression that includes Iran and North Korea, they all are aligned in wanting to hurt America and Western interests. And so do I think they can have a constructive role? No, I really don't. I think the constructive role would be that they feel sidelined. Maybe the Chinese realize that Iran is not their path for getting cheap oil, illegal sanctioned oil. As far as the Russians go, they've been getting drones and missiles from Iran, so they worry about it. That's how they've been threatening Ukraine. So do I think they have, being at a yes or no answer, I'd say no, that they will not be a positive role. And this should be an American initiative alone, along with our allies. In my mind, a good American ally. I would be worried. Having said that, I still feel that the Iranians will not poke the bear. They will not attack American facilities, the ones in and around Erbil. But the Popular Mobilization Forces, the Iraqi militias that Iran controls, could do something on their own. And if they do that, Iran is directly to blame, and the United States would respond. So I'm skeptical that Iran is going to want to tell its militias in Iraq to attack American assets and facilities in Iraq. But anything is possible. And if they do, then the war will escalate and the United States will enter. And it could be a much more decisive strike, because my country is still the unipolar superpower in the world. And we try not to use overwhelming force. But if we are attacked, we are going to respond vigorously. Yeah. First of all, President Trump has made clear that he wants there to eventually be peace. He would like to be known as a peacemaker. He doesn't want to be known for war. That does not mean, and I think this is where the Iranians miscalculated, is that he will not use force. They should remember what he did to Soleimani, 5 years ago. But if America is attacked, our soldiers are attacked. And I believe that if any of our soldiers are attacked at any base, whether they're in Syria or in Iraq or in any place in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, we should respond. Even if soldiers aren't killed, just the act of attacking American assets should be overwhelmingly responded. That's the only thing Iran will understand. Proportionality here has to be overwhelming. If the Iranian regime falls, that is the best path to regional stability. It would be the best thing for Iraq. It would be the best thing for the Gulf nations. It would be the best thing for Israel. It would be the best thing for all the countries around. That would be the best way. If the Iranian regime remains in place, that will always create instability. Iran is looking to destabilize Jordan. It's looking to control Iraq. It's looking to destroy Israel. It is not going to go away. Its ideology is not going to go away unless the regime changes. So yes, I can be cautiously optimistic that the region is more stable, but I feel confident that if the current Iranian regime is in place a year from now, those things about stability and peace are not going to be there. I think the best thing we could hope for is solid, sustainable ceasefires to make things quiet. The Middle East always surprises. Well, I don't want to speak for the Iranians, but I think their number one thing is survival of the regime. And if survival of the regime means to return to negotiations and again try to stretch out negotiations with the Trump administration, they may try that tactic. I believe they're going to get to a point because their anti missile and air defenses have been destroyed, is they're going to get to a point where they're going to want to have pressure on Israel to stop, and they will promise all kinds of things. But again, this is a regime that uses religiously sanctioned dissimulation, in other words, lying. And I hope my country does not fall for the Iranian lying, that we need to know absolutely when the Iranians say something that we can enforce it, not to believe them, basically to distrust the Iranians and then verify. So I think the best thing for the Iranians to do is to give up their enrichment 100% and their whole nuclear program and allow American inspectors, and then they have a chance to survive. I think anything less, anything is possible. The Israelis are not going to stop if they think Iran is going to come back and be a threat anytime soon.